All right, here we go. We are on the air, and welcome everybody to the Beside the Point podcast live stream Wednesday, wacky Black Wednesday, crazy woo party. Everybody's having a party.
Appropriate.
We're all 6 feet apart. Tony's like 10 feet over that way. Say hi, Tony.
Hi. I'm actually on camera in Delaware.
Yeah, we're in space right now, according like what shows on the back.
I'm in the
here.
dark as usual.
That's where we like you.
That's why we put that light on your face.
You did no shit. You
look
look growing.
Look in the light.
Wow, now you call me a mushroom.
I don't even know if there's audio getting to the. We're having some issues with our computers, but we're doing the best we can. We have a guest, so we're trying to keep up appearances for that purpose. But here we go. We got our friend Adam joining us as soon as I can get him going here. Can you hear us okay, man?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Cool. We're having some audio issues, so I just wanted to make sure, but we're on the air. We can hear you just fine. So how are things, sir?
Hell yeah. Can you hear my squeaky chair all right?
Yep. You can hear the fan blades. It's like, what's that movie? Apocalypse Now.
Yeah. Well, you're about to hear my squeaky voice. So.
How you been, man?
I've been good, man. Just unemployed, like a large percent of the population. Sure. Other than that,
you ended up doing like one or two, just maybe one comedy show since all this started a couple weeks ago, something like that.
I had one weekend this past weekend, and other than that, I've done like just little things here and there. I'm supposed to do a private gig in December, but they're telling me now that they're not certain they're going to have it because of COVID and starting to shut down now.
I've had a few of those too. I do sound for these bands and stuff, and they're like, "Oh, show got canceled." It was like the one gig that I got. It was like, and for the whole month instead of like 4 in a month. Like you have the same probably thing with comedy. It's like, oh, we got you locked in for all month, and then now it's down to maybe once a month. Oh wait, we're not open yet. We got to. The governor said no.
my roommates are also comics. Well, one of them used to be a comic. The other one has been doing comedy for like 25 years, and he said he lost like $7,000 worth of gigs between from October to December. Like,
yep,
he was just left and right. Places were calling him, going, "Hey, the governor shut us down again."
Yep. But
I don't know what anyone. I was just watching some rapper on TikTok that was like, normally I spend this much time of the year writing, and then the rest of the year it's touring. He's like, but I'm sitting at home now, and it's like,
yeah,
I can't fathom what some of those guys, like the bigger names. Here's the thing of it is, like, some of those guys, albeit they're making a ton more, they were probably, some of them are like living at their their means, and
yep.
They've got like these massive houses. They still got to pay on those damn things. Like, I don't know how. Like, it's just gotta. Thank God the only thing I have to my name is my car.
Right. Yeah. Because you just packed up and moved to Atlanta. You were living near Orlando. We were actually supposed to hang out with you. This is our buddy Joe that's sitting with us. That we were supposed to meet up with you in Orlando, and then for those who don't know, watching the stream here, our friend Adam is a comedian, and he has appeared in a few films and TV shows along the way, and he's got a big one that we're talking about today with Hillbilly Elegy from director Ron Howard, which is kind of a big deal, and everybody's
it's number one
throwing a bunch of like praise at you for it too.
Netflix giving it a push.
I'm on TV. Yeah.
It's number one on Netflix.
Yeah.
Right now in the US.
As of like the time of recording this, like it probably changes.
Kind of applause track, we would have pushed the button.
Yeah, I don't have that button anywhere.
We wanted that, and we just Tony and I tried clapping, and it sounded really bad.
The funny thing is, like, it got some mixed reviews, and it seems that's only helped it because people are like, wait a minute, the Atlantic says this is the worst movie of the year, but it's Ron Howard. Or like one of the persons the worst movie Ron Howard's ever made, and I feel like it made people go like, what?
I got to see this. I like mixed reviews when I see something. I go, this is going to be either interesting or not. I was just thinking of a movie earlier today, and now I forgot what it was. But I have the AMC Pass thing, and that was reinstated a few months ago. Oh, let's go to the movies again, and then all the AMC movie theaters are closed again because of our governor in Illinois, anyway. But
the funny thing is that I had the AMC Pass too, and when they reopened the theaters, they didn't renew my pass. They around in Orlando, they just charge. I think it was $5. Excuse me, but if you went on the first day, it was only I think it was 10 cents or 5 cents or something to go see it, the first day. I was like,
interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Because Joe hasn't seen the movie. Tony and I saw the movie. But we can get into that in a little bit. But we were saying, comedy and music, concerts and things are all just shut down. And it's I think these comedians or just anybody who's working in entertainment. I know several people who work just in events and comedians and musicians, and it's just everybody's just that's the one of the few things that shut down right now. There was a
bottom. I can't imagine what the people who own stadiums are going through, you know what I mean? Or giant rock venues, those things. How many how many businesses can stand to have zero profit in the last 6 months or whatever? You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Especially a place that big, like an arena or something
Or they were opening them up to. We have an arena right down the road from where we are now that. Actually, speaking of comedians again, Bert Kreischer was doing this drive-in movie theater tour, and he was able to make it. They were actually, I saw him on a podcast recently talking about you never had to stop. You just kind of adjusted, pivoted, and then started doing the drive-in movie theaters in the summertime. But now it's
I did one of those.
Yeah,
it's gotta be weird if it rains.
Yeah, you got a rain delay for do you just have to cancel the show? He was doing 2 shows, a comedy, it was a 7 o'clock and a 9 o'clock. And I'm like, how the hell are they going to get all those cars in and out of there? It's logistics or
what about the
just totally flipped up. You got everybody turn your cars off, okay?
You're okay, man. You're good.
Is there somewhere to plug it in? No. Can I just plug it into the speaker? Does that work?
The whole thing about drive-in shows that's odd to me though is the one I did, people brought chairs and sat up front. They just were it's Florida. They don't give a fuck about anything. You can run into a gator anywhere, even in your swimming pool. They don't give a shit. They would bring, chairs and just sit up front so you could actually hear people laugh. But if everyone's in their car, then I don't imagine you would. But even still, everyone's still drinking. Everyone still brings beer. And then there's all right, bunch of drunk people are gonna start driving away now.
Yeah, right. This doesn't really.
Thanks for laughing for 2 hours. Now go home.
Because what's the difference though when you go to a comedy club and drink and somebody's the DD or whatever? But everybody's sitting out front of their truck in lawn chairs.
Well, I guess there's the culpable deniability of I'm assuming that guy's getting an Uber, but when they're all sitting in their cars, just and then they go to leave. And
no one's gonna get an Uber when they have to get their car out of the drive-in parking lot. Yeah, they have their car right there. Why would they call an Uber? That's silly.
If they do get too drunk to drive, what are they just gonna? Well, I guess no one's gonna park in that space for the second show.
And I had a question for you because this is the first time we've talked. But do you feel because there's so many performers and talented people that have downtime right now, or do you see it where once things start to get back to normal or they approach normal, do you think there's going to be this flurry of activity with projects? Is it going to be harder for someone like yourself who's trying to gain momentum versus somebody who's already been established for 10, 15 years that that has like a really large following. Is it going to be harder for you because there's so much creativity and it's all been kind of backlogged?
Well, I mean, I guess there's a few different ways to answer that, but as far as like TV projects, they're starting to pick back up in the Southeast, which is part of the reason I moved to Atlanta. I kind of timed it to where like I'd be here when the movie came out, but there's been there were a number of projects that were supposed to be made that just didn't get a chance to.
Yeah.
And
Right.
so when that happens, there's going to be a lot of opportunity for, actors to start doing that kind of thing again. As far as like, I don't know that it'll necessarily be a detriment to me because I don't have as big of a following as like Kevin Hart, because I don't think we're going out for the same roles, you know. But there's always going to be someone with a larger following, someone with, more clout or whatever that wants whatever the same role is that I'm doing or whatever. So I mean, you can't try to focus on that. You just kind of have to, whatever will be, and just, make your own way. But I've got friends that were able to, I don't know what's better here, better for lighting. I've got friends that were able to take a negative and turn it into a positive. I got buddies who were able to basically become famous during the quarantine. They just started cranking out videos, for a while. One of them, buddy of mine, was doing them like once a day. I mean, they were at least doing them, 1 or 2 a week. One of them ended up going off to write for a late night show because they found him because like J-Lo shared his video kind of thing.
Oh, nice.
Another guy, like, I mean, he's, got a 1.5 million people following him now. But prior to this, no one knew who he was. So like literally in the last 4 months, this guy got famous, and now like he can tour any comedy club he wants to.
Yeah.
As soon as they open up, he can, so as they're opening up different places, he's going different places. But the caveat to that is, he can't hang back and meet the fans because there's still COVID out there. So he's the one I did a show with this past weekend. And if he were to walk in the room when they're trying to seat, he just gets mobbed. This is a mistake he made at one show. He was like,
whoa, yeah.
Normally what we do is we just, stand in the back of the room, and most people have no clue who we are until we get on stage, which is what he's used to. But now, like, people are legitimately coming to see him, and like they go nuts, just like any, famous person when they walk into the room of a comedy club. Everyone goes like, "Holy shit, it's the guy! We know him from the thing.
It's the guy from YouTube. You get it?"
Yeah.
Like, that made me think of another question too, because you have two really, really well-known female leads in this movie.
Yeah.
And I can only imagine when you have families at home, people that are, binging like all of us have for this whole year, when you see content pop up, whether you're a male or a female, you see those names and their box office success, that's going to make you click on this movie and stream it that much faster, which is huge.
It's right now, it's ahead of like a Bruce Willis movie and like Kevin Hart special, and it's like I'm fucking beating out Kevin Hart special that came out like 2 days ago. Fucking crazy. I mean, I realize it's not because of me. They're not like, hey, Adam.
But you're part of it. You're part of a big thing, which is really exciting. And I remember Kevin Hart having 1 line or 2 lines in a movie, and then 5 years later, the guy's doing crazy stuff. So it's got to be really exciting.
Soul Plane was his first big movie, and the problem with Soul Plane was it was the most bootleg movie ever. Like, it was, by the time it came out in theaters, it was old news. Like, literally months before it came out, he said in his memoir that someone walked up to him in an airport and were like, "Hey man, you're the dude from Soul Plane." He's like, "That hasn't even come out yet. Like, how he's like, I got it. You want a copy? I'll give you a copy." Like,
2 for 1, 2 for 1.
Yeah, when I booked that movie, I heard it was a Ron Howard movie, and I was like, oh hell yeah, fuck yeah, that's amazing. And then like people told me like, no, they're like that's a big deal. It's gonna be in theaters, and I was like, it's a Netflix movie. They're like, yeah, no, they're making it with the intent to get Oscars because Glenn Close and Amy Adams, neither one of them have ever had an Oscar, which blew my. I had no idea that Glenn Close of all people had never had one.
And the timing is perfect for that season too, right? You know, because this is when a lot of movies are getting a push.
So COVID be damned, they're putting that movie out
before November or whatever to get it.
Well, the other thing that's crazy to me, like, I mean, it's weird to like have been told that, 18 months ago when I, filmed the thing, or, I think I booked it like a month. I booked it in like May of last year. So like to see it actually come to fruition, and like it's just weird to be told that, oh yeah, they're gonna go for Oscars, and then to actually see them, like, people talking about like Glenn Close is probably gonna win an Oscar for this. It's like, fucking really? Like, the other thing that's crazy is like, what other great movies have come out this year? Like, other than Tenet, like it could very well be nominated for like Picture of the Year, just simply on the fact that there's nothing else. Like, what the fuck else?
Was that 1917 movie? That was last year, wasn't it?
1917 got nominated for Best Picture last year.
That was last year's movie. I'm trying to think what movies have come out this year. For
January is known for having terrible movies. That's the month that people just dump shit. They dump
their weird.
And then you got February, not much happens. March, everything's shut down, and the majority of movies like the Bond movie, and
you got your summer blockbusters in July, August, and then Oscar season, October, November, you get that movie out, so it qualifies for this year's.
You think that Will Ferrell movie, the pop star movie, that's going to get some Oscar buzz?
Which movie?
The Will Ferrell movie where he's the pop star, or he goes on.
I didn't even see that yet.
Oh, I haven't seen that yet.
I'm only being sarcastic.
Is that on Netflix?
It's fun,
as well?
but it's not going to get a buzz in any way besides watching it while you're buzzed. That's about it.
But yeah, like you're seriously though, not a lot of great movies have come out.
No, good timing for you guys.
Not a lot of movies come out. Period. So,
I mean, it's cool to be a part of something that legitimately is getting that much buzz and is that cool. And I don't know, like it's interesting. Like my grandmother called me and was like, she's like, I heard you're in a movie with Ron Howard. You guys see the meet? And I was like, yeah. She's like, oh my, like, dude, I've been in. I mean, I did the Marvel TV show and like some other things, and it didn't matter what. Like, I had called her to be like, hey, I'm doing a movie with Glenn Close and Amy Adams, and she was like, who?
Yeah.
Like she had no idea. And moment she found out Ron Howard, she's like, oh, Opie. She was so sad when I told her that Ron Howard isn't actually in the movie. I'm like, he's a director now.
Yeah.
He's famous for directing. She's like, really? Why wouldn't he be in the movie? Like,
this is news. You're breaking the whole story to her.
Like to her, he's like, all he did was, the Andy Griffith Show, and then nothing said.
Maybe she saw an episode or two of Happy Days.
Maybe.
Yeah. If you really want to blow a lot of grandparents' minds, just tell her that
Meathead from All in the Family is also a very well-known director.
Wow.
So I told Tony that last month, and his jaw hit the floor.
Yeah, I'm right.
Ron Reiner?
No.
Really?
No,
Really?
Meathead's not smart enough to direct.
Now, your grandmother never saw American Graffiti?
Well, that was one of the other movies she mentioned, but like when I mentioned Apollo 13 to her, she was like, "What's that?" True story about astronauts. Tom Hanks is in it. And she's like, I don't know whatever the kids are doing these days. I'm like, it's
yeah.
Like 20 years
these
ago,
days. Yeah, the kids these days.
I watched it live on TV.
I don't need to see the movie. Yeah.
I was there.
Because I liked your story too about, because a friend of mine, I'll start with this one little anecdote. The closest I've ever come to what you're feeling right now is I know just a friend of ours, guy we both went to high school with. lived out in LA for a while, and he worked with Troy Duffy, the guy who did the Boondock Saints. And he
Okay.
was involved with like some of the Boondock Saints 2 pre-production or post-production, whatever. So he was like hanging out with Troy a little bit and just like being a PA or something, and he was excited about that. Like it's cool to hear those stories of people like from the other side. And I like Kevin Smith because he talks about how the sausage is made, and you know he gives behind the scenes video, like, you know, here we're making a Jay and Silent Bob movie or whatever it is, and it's like, you know, he gives you
A friend of the show told us this.
what?
The part about the Bill story.
The Bill story.
Because you were talking about Bill, right?
Yeah, he's been on this podcast. Yeah, he's been on the podcast, and but yeah, he's worked on a few TV shows again, like in the production side. But I mean, it's that when you're that close to it, like you're saying with Glenn Close and Amy Adams, and because in your scene that you're in, it's Glenn Close, and then I can't remember the kid's name, but
Well,
right?
Well, Glenn Close was supposed to be in the scene.
Yeah.
But she had like one line in the scene, but she's got, like, if you see the movie, she's wearing like prosthetics and a wig and like all this makeup and stuff. Like they legitimately make her look way older and more decrepit than she is, and it comes off amazing. But she didn't get out of hair and makeup in time for our scene, so they just moved her one line to like another scene, like
for the next setup or whatever, when they're going to shoot something outside of the store that you guys are inside of or whatever. Yeah.
So I went up to do the fitting for this on my birthday last year.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I found out that that Glenn Close is supposed to be in the scene. Is that the ladies who are doing my fitting were like, she's like, happy birthday, and here's a good birthday present for you. Glenn Close is going to be in your scene. And I was like, really? Like, holy shit. Because prior to that, like, I don't know if you know, when you audition for stuff like this, they typically, they give you redacted sides. Sometimes they're changed. Like you don't necessarily get to know all of what it is you're auditioning for. Like whenever, like I've auditioned for the first, like couple seasons, like 3 seasons of Stranger Things. And they always like, they'll change something, or even like the Marvel stuff, they'll change something, or they'll make it so that you're not certain what's happening exactly because they don't want secrets leaked, you know?
Yep. Yeah, the most famous recently was the obviously Marvel Endgame movie where they didn't want to leak. They had like 5 different endings written for that movie just to hide it and like keep people off the scent so they wouldn't know what was going on. And they didn't even use any of those 5 for the final movie. They like slid that in there. Haha, here's what the actual scene's gonna be.
Yeah, the Marvel show I was on was called The Gifted, and on set they called everything something else. I believe it was called Heaven is what they were calling the show.
Yeah.
But like even still, you know, like literally everything, everyone's tag that was like, you know, part of crew, it said Heaven, things of that nature. And but like, you know, there's a giant van that says like Mutant Task Force written on the side of it. I'm like, people are gonna know. They're gonna have some idea.
I was driving around downtown Chicago. This was 5 years ago when they were filming the Justice League movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I was doing delivery, so I was like underground. They have Lower Wacker Drive or Lower Michigan. It's all like underground where the loading docks and stuff are, which is where a lot of that Batman movie with Christian Bale was filmed, the Dark Knight, where they're under the semi truck and it's blowing up. And so I'm under there doing a delivery and I see a bus that says Smallville, like bus company or whatever on it. And I'm like, Smallville or no, it was Metropolis. It was like Metropolis Transit Authority. And I'm like, so they were using Chicago for Metropolis in like I think it was either the Justice League movie. Yeah, it had to be. Or Batman versus Superman, maybe. That was what it was. But and they were using Detroit, I think, for Gotham City or something like that. So some people were like posting pictures of buses and things in Detroit. Yeah, it says Gotham, and you're like, that looks out of place.
We filmed it in at least my part. A lot of it was filmed in Georgia. Some of it was in Ohio, but we filmed my part in Macon. And Macon's a real small town. Like it's famous for having like a band come out of there. I want to say it was like the Allman Brothers or something came out of there, and they have like a museum dedicated to them. But other than that, it's like nothing else happens there. And so they notice strangers that aren't supposed to be there at the local watering hole or whatever. So I went to a restaurant the first night I was there, and I'm sitting down, and these people sit down next to me, and they're like, "So, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
Like, who are you?"
What's your story?
Yeah, you're not a local. What are you doing here?
And
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm just visiting, doing some things. Like, what do you do for work? And I'm like, I'm a comic, I'm just here, just staying at the hotel, doing some stuff for work. And they're like,
Yeah.
"We know why you're here." They're like, we know
you signed a non-disclosure agreement, but we know why.
We know you can't say anything. Dude, some guy literally leaned over to me at the bar and was like, "We know you're working on the Glenn Close movie." And I'm like, "How the fuck do you guys like I cannot confirm or deny, but how do you what?" And they're like, "It's small town."
The local papers too. They filmed what was that movie with Johnny Depp where it was the John Dillinger movie. And also the Road to Perdition with Tom Hanks. Yeah, I think it was just Public Enemies.
And then Road to Perdition.
Road to Perdition was filmed in the suburbs. So like the local newspaper would be like, they're filming a movie in our, or they just did the last season of Fargo with Chris Rock.
Yeah.
I don't even know if it's out yet. I think it just came out.
Yeah.
Some of that was filmed around Elgin, which is another suburb of Chicago around here. And there was little tittering about that. Oh, Chris Rock is in town. Like, cause they talk about it. And so like that local paper, like the the Hollywood's coming to town to make a movie in our little town. Like they still have that vibe around out there.
The other thing was like Macon has all of one hotel, and it's the Marriott. So we're all at the same hotel. So and there's only a handful of restaurants. So I mean, word travels fast, and you're gonna see. The locals are gonna see it walking around. They're like, we see the trailers. We know what the fuck's going on. Like, who's a kid?
Yeah.
But if you stay there a week, and all of a sudden you're playing Connected Out, you're like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
You said your cousin was responsible for changing my sheets last night, and the guy at the bar also owns the liquor store across the street where I went to get some Skittles. And then that guy over there has a dry cleaner, and it's the only place in town that can get these buttons sewn on. Before you know it, you're like, holy cow, these people, they got everything.
I met the whole time. And yeah.
For the most part, people were cool. There was one I went to. There's some really old hot dog restaurant there that I like. Whenever I travel, I try to go to different and obscure places or try whatever the local beer is or whatever, things that I can't get elsewhere.
Totally.
And so I went to this. It was like a hot dog and hamburger restaurant that had been around since 1911 or some shit. And it was over 100 years, whatever it was. And they had the menu written on the wall, and some redneck hillbilly dude was standing in front of the menu, and I'm like looking at it above his head, and he's looking at me like, "The fuck you looking at, man?" I'm like, "The menu."
Yeah, it's very kind.
He's like, "Fucking looking at me, or I'll come over there and I'll fucking he's acting, he's like motioning like he's gonna grab a gun or a knife or something. I'm like,
wow,
dude, don't stand in front of the menu. I'm looking at the menu, man.
I've learned that,
and you're from Florida, so
I've learned something about Macon. I want to give you credit for opening my eyes.
Yeah.
Every person in that town, based on what you've told me, likes to lean in when they talk.
Okay.
And that's how you know you're somewhere that's off the beaten path. Because I never lean in for anything unless someone's really struggling to pronounce the word properly, and I'm like, huh? But no, the way you're saying it, everybody there walks up, how you doing?
Yeah. Well, this guy was it wasn't a big place because, like I said, it's 100 years old, but he was across the room from me. But the reason he was so forward was because it was he was going are we gonna fight now? Because you're looking in my direction.
Why are you looking at my hairline, my scalp?
Got something wrong with my shit? Yeah.
He just seemed like that kind of
wow,
drug-addled, very emotionally stunted kind of individual. It's just this motherfucker's looking at me. That means we about to go down. Let's do this. You know what I mean? Like,
why are you making eye contact with me?
yeah. Like he's like a feral dog that you look at it the wrong way, and that means I got to defend my turf. I'm like,
those are just about anywhere, but it's probably a little bit higher content. I know you go to Indiana or Wisconsin from where we are now, it's like you're in the suburbs and it's fine, but you go outside of the city any direction, and it's like you gotta kind of have a head on a swivel a little bit.
yeah, man, that's I mean, dude, once a year I used to head up to that way. That's where we originally met.
Exactly, right. Yeah.
Was that the Improv in Schaumburg?
Yeah, I saw you at. There was another comedian that we went and saw at the Laugh Factory down in downtown Chicago, North Side, and then you had another gig that you were supposed to do, Ari Shafir or something, I believe, and then he brought his own opener.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
he brought his own opener, so you didn't, you fell off of that gig, so you just like showed up at the Improv because you'd been there before with other people, and
I was trying.
I was like, hey, didn't I just see you? And you're like, holy shit, no one's ever recognized me before.
No, it wasn't that. It was like I hadn't ever performed at that Improv, so I mean, it's one thing to get recognized in a place you've done stand up, but like the interesting thing about what how we met was I'm trying to think of the name of the comic that was there, but I was chatting with him. And I told him that I'm a comedian. You saw me at the Laugh Factory right before, and he was looking at me like, "There's no fucking way this guy's a comic." And then you walked over like, "Dude, we just saw you. You were fucking hysterical."
Yeah.
And that changed this guy's opinion of me instantly.
Was it Owen Benjamin?
Yeah, it was Owen Benjamin. And then after that, like, he was like, "You want to come back and sit in the green room and just chat?" And shit? Like, it completely changed.
All of a sudden, you're part of the club. So it's like,
street cred. Joe,
right.
I like that.
Just you walking up and recognizing me, and him watching that whole thing go down made him go like, "Oh, he really is a comic." All right.
Because he was close enough to doing that for me too. I'm sure he's just like the nicest guy. He was he hasn't toured in a while. He's got some other like personal things going on in his life that we won't get into here, but he hasn't really done comedy very much lately. And I think he does a lot of live streaming stuff now, but for being as big of a comedian as he was very like welcoming and like, "Oh, you want to come to the next show?" Like I emailed him and said, "Hey, we're coming to the show." And he's like, "Hey, you want some free tickets?" I'm like, "Sure, if you're giving away free." I'm just letting you know we're coming to the show. I listened to your podcast, blah, blah, blah. I'm coming to your show, just wanted to say hi. And
that was
nice enough. Yeah.
That was before, I think he got like, he went through some like controversy after that.
Yeah.
But like,
there was,
but that was like at the peak of his whatever height of whatever shit was when that interaction between, you and I and him happened.
Because we went to like 2 or 3 shows that weekend just to go like, "Oh, let's go to a couple shows and we'll see what the difference is." Or because Thursday night you tell some jokes you never told, you try some different stuff out. And then Saturday night, you're going to give them your well-rounded, 45-minute or hour set.
You'll see it where like somebody, like you'll go on stage, you're like, "All right, I know that this like next 3 minutes I'm going to do, is going to be really tight." And then you just have a night where you're tripping over words.
Totally.
And then the next time you do it, you nail it.
Or you just see when somebody's a heckler or somebody is
like Tony
said, like you say something different or you forget a part of a joke. Yeah. Tony's really bad with heckling.
I haven't
got him.
I haven't heckled any comic in a long time.
Yeah. But I mean, we were talking about someone being at their peak. You were certainly at your peak as a well-respected and feared heckler. And I don't know what made you stop, but I mean, the word was spreading. I heard about it.
Adam, are you buying any of this crap?
I was sitting there going like, I don't know if this is true, but it could be.
No.
But I was telling the shit out of it.
Yeah, this guy, he lies.
I like that
full of lies.
I like that you said you went to multiple shows. So it's true. With something that's live performance, you'd never know. Like I got to see Bill Burr do like a couple of shows when they were closing the Punchline in Atlanta. He was doing like theaters and not quite stadiums, but he was like, he had moved beyond clubs at this point.
Right.
Yeah.
And he was doing bigger venues, and the Punchline had announced they were closing because they had to move to a different location. And the Punchline had been there for like, I don't know, 30 something years. Like they opened in like the late 70s or early 80s or something. And they were one of the oldest comedy clubs in the country. And so Bill Burr called him up and was like, hey, let me come do a Sunday show before you guys close.
Yeah.
And then, well, fucking okay. Yeah, sure.
I think I've heard him talking about that on his podcast. Like with him and Burt Kreischer do a podcast with each other. Like they'll just be like, oh, that's a great club. Or they'll start riffing and talking about clubs. He's like, I love that place. I can't believe that place is gone.
Yeah, he sold out. They sold out the first show in like minutes. So they added a second show, and that of course sold out again in minutes. And I called up Marcy, the manager there. She's been like, the manager there since time began, basically. And I was like, hey, I've got a show Saturday night, but I will drive up and just stand in the back there. I'll stand in the fucking kitchen if I have to, but I would love to come hang out and catch these shows. And she's like, your family, just fucking show up. Sure,
right.
And so like I stood in the back of the room and got to like watch him work on shit, and it was crazy. He did stuff that he's I've never seen him release on specials and stuff. He was just working on shit, just telling stories and working the room. He was recording it all to try to listen to it. But the interesting thing about that was it wasn't like he didn't have like just a iPhone sitting on the chair or like a fucking Zoom sitting there recording it or whatever. Like he had like professional looking microphones on either side of the stage,
sure, like
on like tripod stand looking things, recording. Like it looked like he was filming a CD or something. Like it was crazy.
Oh.
But I mean, it was cool to watch him, like change jokes just a little bit between sets and stuff. Like
just reading a room, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Just seeing how the night is going and how things are flowing.
Or like when they're making movies, it's like I said, I personally like how see how the sausage is made, right? You see the behind the scenes of something. You don't just watch their special. You'll see them do something like you said that they've never said since or before that, or it was completely spontaneous, like live theater. And I've seen, some friends of ours do shows, and we've gone to one or two performances and seen the differences with that too. It's like you never know what you're going to get.
I heard Spade talk about it one time where he said, if I'm playing a show in Scottsdale, I'm going to use this material. I'll talk about Joe Dirt. I'll make a joke about it. But then if I'm doing a 30-minute set and I'm doing Jersey, or I'm doing in Montana, like where
there's different,
he's gonna craft what he's doing a little differently, and that's cool. It's cool to hear about stuff like
that. The funniest thing about that interaction with Bill was the first time I had met him. He's one of the few people that I've met that I like geeked out over, like just freaked out, like, oh my god, it's fucking Bill Burr.
Yeah.
And I feel like I was super awkward the first time I met him. I was just nervous as shit because I'm like, he's one of my comedy idols basically. And then when I went to the Punchline, like I'd already met him once, and I got to hang out. I got another comic friend of mine in as well, and that comic friend of mine, I got to watch him make a fool of himself in front of Bill Burr. And like.
Is that what I looked like? Oh my god! When I met him the first time.
When I did it, like I was like standing next to him, like fucking going like, act normal, like in my head, like, act normal, and which had to make me seem like a fucking crazy.
Yep. Oh man, I've been there too. Yeah.
I think we've all done that.
Yeah.
When I couldn't find my DVD of his, so I went out and bought another one just to have him sign it. And I mean, immediately thereafter, I found the fucking thing. So now I have 2. So I look like even crazier. But
Do you sign this one for me too? I found the other one. Yeah.
I
My mom.
had brought a Sharpie with me, and I'm standing there like trying to calm down so I can ask him to sign this thing. And I'm like, maybe 6 feet away, staring off into the distance, not looking at him. Again, must have looked insane. And some lady walked up, and she had taken the poster off the wall and walked over to him and was like, "Can you sign this?" And he's like, "I don't have anything to sign it with." And I
got a marker.
I immediately pulled out the Sharpie and like stepped over and just like sat on the table and like stepped back and was like, he's looking at
like
he just like turned to look at me like, "What the fuck?" And then
I got a marker right here. Yeah, you got it.
I got a Sharpie right here.
So when we were at the punchline, like we were all, when Bill walked out, like they made everyone leave. He hid in the back, and it was just like the couple of us that knew the staff or were performers there or whatever, and the staff stayed. And Bill walked out, and he did the exact same thing that I did when I worked there. Was he walked around and took pictures of all the headshots. These have a million headshots there. Funny story about that. One of the things I used to like to do was I would take a picture of a headshot of someone I knew that was a really old headshot and send it to him like, "Look at this old headshot." And one of the ones I took a picture of when I worked at the Punchline was Harlan Williams. And I sent it to him, and he was like, "That's great, but that's not my signature."
Oh wow!
Like they had a fake signature for Harlan Williams on some headshot that's hanging up there.
Wow!
But
yeah, what's the story there? I wonder.
We're all, I don't know. I've never brought it up to Arts to the Punchline or whatever. They don't have. I don't think they have very many headshots up at the place they're at now. But at any rate, so we're all standing in the circle, and Bill's just like chatting with people or whatever, and I could see that my buddy is standing there just nervous out of his mind because of Bill Burr, and he just picked this moment to try to say something he thought was funny, and like, when he said it fucking bombed hard, like like he stuck up the room for half a second, and Bill like went, "What?" And then,
Just
and
killed the
laughed.
vibe.
He like the comment that he made Bill like leave and
Wow.
walk into the kitchen and walk upstairs.
He let out a fart. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, like I had to walk over to my friend. I just started laughing. I was like, "Dude, man, it makes you funny better." I put my foot in my mouth and fucking embarrassed myself in front of him the first time I met him too. Like, like I don't remember what he said, but it whatever it was, like it was clearly like a forced joke, like he was just nervous to say whatever he thought would be funny, and it
because you see that all the time too. It's like somebody is, and that's what they think. Oh, he's a comedian, so I'll tell him a joke. Or it's like, what did the cow say to the other cow? They'll tell a joke like that to
this dude. This dude like, was a cow.
Like, and he's a comedian, and he's like, "Yeah, I got a barn burner for you." And it's like, what was that? He just leaves. Oh,
dude, I'm telling you, I've never seen someone just like go like, "Oh," and like
you can use that too. You can keep that. Yeah.
Just a bad part.
Like, dude, he was so crushed.
Oh
man. And he was like the comic that like all the local guys in like a certain clique looked up to, and like, this guy's the best guy. And then he just whatever the fuck he said, I don't even remember, but whatever he said in front of Bill Burr made him go like, "Oh," and like leave. Like, I need to get out of
here.
Wow.
He just fucked up everyone else's cool factor.
Yeah.
Everybody else thought they were like a 6. He knocked them down to like a 4.
And then Bill's like, "Yeah, I can't hang out with 4s. I'm out." Yeah. All right. That was great.
Like, there's a chef, and then he would start ranting. That would be like a perfect moment for Bill Burr to just start ranting too. Like, does you walk into a fucking chef and like tell him how you mad to make the food, or like you bring a plate into the restaurant with you?
Did you bring some supplies?
Yeah.
Way to go.
Yeah. I know how to cook a burger too. Yeah.
I want to say it was something about sports because, like,
Oh, geez.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
talk about sports, and I'm like, I wasn't really interjecting much because I'm like, I don't know shit about sports. He was just hanging out, and I don't remember what the fuck he said. Dude, yeah, he like fucking just killed the whole conversation. It was so.
I'm gonna be a little unprofessional for a second. I'm gonna let you two. I need to use the bathroom real quick, but I'll cue Adam for this one. Speaking of like meeting celebrities and stuff, you had a pretty funny story with your interaction with Ron Howard because you were like, "Hey, I'll let you tell that story. Maybe you can watch all this stuff on Adam's YouTube channel too. If you're out there watching this, he's got a YouTube channel we'll link to, and
perfect.
you can see a lot of other stories. But
Which story in particular were you?
Well, it was like after you were done filming for the day or whatever, and
yeah, I can tell that story.
Or talk about the other thing was that you wanted with your like acting teacher was like giving you pointers about something, and and Ron totally turned it around on her.
I think those were the two I haven't seen yet.
Well, yeah, let's hear about that, and you can handle.
Yeah, let me go handle this business. That you guys, I already know these stories, so you guys can hear them. You guys all there? Yeah, I won't do that.
Unless you want to make like a slapstick.
Yeah, that would be. Yeah, hey Bill Burr, I got a funny joke.
I want to hear the Ron Howard story. Go ahead.
Yeah. I guess the first one was like when I was auditioning for this movie, I auditioned for it 3 times, and the normal process is basically you go on tape for something, and so basically they'll give you some sides, and the way it started, I don't know if he's heard this particular part of it or not, but whatever. He chose to go take a deuce right now, but when you
chose what we have for dinner, it's his fault. Nobody else but his.
It was like chili dogs. We're definitely doing chili dogs. It'll be fine.
Play with fire, Joe, but go for it. Okay.
When you audition for something, typically nowadays everything's on tape, so they do what's called a slate, which is where they basically show your full body and you say like your name, your height, and if they ask you certain questions like since I have a beard, they'll ask me if I'm willing to shave or where you live and this, that, and the other.
Right.
You're supposed to do it in character. And so if you watch the movie, the 3 parts that I auditioned for, the first one was the guy that brings the grandmother food. The second one was the asshole in that trading card shop that like tells him to get the fuck out.
Yeah.
And the third one was the part I got. So when I was auditioning for the second one, which is an asshole, I'm doing the slate. And I was just like, my name is Adam Murray. I'm 6'3". I gave basically Ron Howard the bird.
Nice.
And my acting teacher was like, "Are you sure you want to do that?" And I was like, "Fuck them if they can't take a joke. Like, I mean, they're probably gonna hire someone out of LA for this anyway. Like, who gives a fuck?" So I threw all caution to the wind. And now he's like, they remembered you. Like, it's fucking
yeah.
But so when I got the third audition, like in my acting class, we do this thing called booking shoots auditions, where at the beginning you talk about everything you're working on, things you're auditioning for, and that way you can like have little moments of, I guess, celebration, or also warn people about, this is a weird, creepy project you probably don't want to be a part of, or different things come up, and you're like, here's how you would handle that if you went through that kind of thing. But anyway, I would mention that I had done I got my third audition. I'm like, that someone must like me there if I got my third audition. And my acting teacher was like, she's like, "Listen, I know people who have auditioned for it like 7 times, so try not to get too excited." And I was like, that really brought all the wind out of the sails. And
wow, I came in with a bubble and you just burst it.
Yeah. And
that's a backhandedness. Holy cow.
She looked at me and she goes, "By the way, Adam, if I've told you this once, I've told you this 1,000 times. I think you'd book a lot more if you cut your hair and shaved your beard. I think you'd make a great everyman. But I know you got comedy and all that, so you do whatever you want." The very next day, the very next day I booked the movie, and it came with one note. It said, "Ron loves your hair. Don't cut it." And I was like, "Let me text this bitch." Like, he's like, and she was like, "What the fuck do I know?" Like, to be fair, and like I use "bitch" as a term of endearment there because I really do love it. She's phenomenal. But yeah, the on set, there were a couple interesting moments. Like when I first walked on the set, like when you go to the trailers, and you know, basically every time I go to a set, literally every time, they're like, "Oh, you're over that way," and they send me with.
You're an extra, yeah.
You're an extra, yeah. And
This guy definitely looks like an extra.
They take me to extras holding, and I have to tell them that I'm not an extra. And then, like when I did the Marvel movie or the Marvel TV show, I showed up in an Uber and got out with my suitcase because I had flown in and I didn't get there in time for a fitting. They told me to bring options, and so because I had a suitcase, this lady just assumed I was an extra. She's like, "You're over here. We've been waiting on you." And I was like, "All right." And then like she got mad at me. She's like, "I don't see you on the list. Like, who are you supposed to be?"
Yeah.
Like kind of thing. She was being rude to me until she found out I was first team. And it's like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry."
Oh, I love it. You did a flip.
Oh.
You did a fuck you flip.
Yeah.
That was great.
So when I arrived at this movie, like I'm walking in with all the extras, and I went to say hi to this lady. We were walking across the street together. I'm like, "Hey, what's up?" And she was like, "Don't talk to me," kind of thing. Like she didn't say that, but like her whole body language was just like, "Don't talk to me." Until we got to the extras check-in, and I was like, "Actually, I'm not really an extra. I have, you know, I'm in the movie. I play the dude in the radio track." And they're like, "Oh, you're our salesman. Awesome. Yeah, hold on. Hey, radio, we got this dude, you know, kind of thing."
Because you should be on like a call sheet or something, right? Your name or whatever, like for the day.
Yeah, like on the Marvel shoot, I pulled out my call sheet and I showed it to the lady. I'm like, "I'm supposed to be a construction worker." She's like, "How do you know that?" I'm like, "Here you go." And I showed it to her. She was like, "How do you have this?" I'm like, "My agent sent it to me." And she's like, "Oh my God, you're on first team. I'm sorry, I'm so rude to you." Like, you shouldn't be rude to anyone. Like, don't be nasty to people just because they're lower status. But at any rate, so I go and I do hair and makeup, and hair and makeup essentially equated to a lady took a thing of powder and went pat, 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 pat on my forehead and goes, "All right, I think you're good." And I was like, "Do you want to do something with the beard or the hair?" And they're like, "Nah, Ron loves it. He said just leave it exactly the way it is." And I was like,
Yeah.
"Okay." So I go to set. They drive us from the trailers to where they were filming the thing, and they had like the whole street blocked off, and they take us to this like they literally had the whole block. So we were in this holding area next door. It was like some sort of gallery for like the Allman Brothers or something, and they were telling the lady like that ran the store, like, "Listen, Glenn Close and Amy Adams are going to come here and they're going to be here. Please don't bother them." She's like, "Listen, I tore it all over with the Allman Brothers. I don't give a shit about Glenn." So they had these chairs set up, like the director looking chairs that you've seen probably everywhere. One of them, mine had something generic on it, like actor, like something like that on it. And then the kid had his chair with his name on it. And then the next one was Glenn Close. And then the third one was something like, I don't remember exactly what it said. It was like Mr. Piffles the Fantastic or some shit. And I was like, whose fucking chair is that? Like, is that what Ron Howard goes by on set? Like, that's a little pretentious.
Mr. Piffles.
And they're like, "No, that's Glenn Close's dog."
Yeah.
I was like, "What? She's got a chair for her dog?" And they're like, "Yeah, the dog has like 30,000 followers on Instagram." And I was like,
"It's in her contract. We had to bring the chair." Yeah.
Okay, so that dog is more famous than I am. That's amazing. That's great. That's beautiful.
What kind of dog is it?
Yeah.
I don't even
Did you
know.
even get to meet the dog? Yeah.
I'm just worried if it's a little one, you gotta like watch where you step, or you're gonna piss off the the start of the movie.
I assume that's why she has a chair for it. Like she can't have the thing in her lap, because she'll get fur, she'll get hair all over her costume.
Yeah.
It's a.
And if it's
He's
those
looking
chairs
it
are
up right
so
now.
hot.
Oh no, that's Piff the Magic Dragon's dog.
That's different.
Yeah.
Mr.
Good
Mr.
Magic
Piffles,
Dragon's
yeah.
dog is Piffles is fantastic, but
Yeah.
her dog,
Oh,
Like something like that, you're saying, yeah.
if you just Google Glenn Close's dog,
Yeah.
you'll probably find it. But so they bring me on set, and dude, by the way, when I booked that, I had to cancel a gig at like a barbecue restaurant, right? And the barbecue restaurant was like, listen, I don't think we'll ever be able to have you back here again because you're canceling this gig.
You
I'm like,
are
bro,
Offending
Ron,
us, yeah.
you're a barbecue restaurant. Like, it's for a Ron Howard movie.
Yeah.
Like, come on, man.
cut me a little slack here. Yeah.
But
I know you have a good dry rub, but get the fuck over yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole reason I wanted to do it was because I heard it was a fun room, and they supposedly have great barbecue, and they give the comics barbecue. But I mean, they literally told me, why don't think we're ever? I'm like, you're not gonna have me even after I've been in like a Ron Howard movie. Like, all right, whatever. I'm like, I don't know if you know this. This is way better for my career than the barbecue.
You know, when people talk about this being like a tough business and you having to make choices, now I understand.
That was a tough choice. I get
Those
it. I get it now.
Yeah, those Hollywood moments you
Yeah.
have, like I can't do this because I got to do that. And it's like,
Yeah, there are going to be some
Am I gonna-
casualties along the
am I
way,
making the wrong
and this was
decision?
one of them.
The guy literally like unfriended me on Facebook and everything after I told him.
Tony, go ahead, jump in. You wanted to ask
I've been
something.
trying to jump in for an hour.
Oh,
Go ahead.
So, Adam, what you do when that movie comes out on video, you go there, put it down in front of them, say, "Here's my autograph. I'm in this movie," and just leave. That's what you do.
Yeah.
It's
And
funny,
I have to say, I've been waiting an hour to say this movie I thought was one of the best movies I saw. I wasn't sure what to expect, but I like the family view of it, the responsibility that he got on there. I just thought it was a great movie. I've talked to Joe about that for 3 days in a row.
You're like, oh, we'll see that again. Yeah.
I want to see it again.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
the
Because
thing is, honestly, like I think reading the bad reviews made me enjoy it so much more because I was expecting it to be bad, and then I was like, it's really good. Like I don't know what they were talking about. Like I've heard people say that it's. I've heard some murmurs that I guess apparently the guy that wrote the book he came out and made some political statements, I guess, and that's kind of fueled this fear for his.
They have a twist on there. Well, this is just some other thing, and they're trying to find the words to where they're talking around it. Yeah, they're really just trying to say he's a Republican, so we're not going to write a review.
Yeah.
even before I knew you were in this movie, I saw the previews at the theater.
Yeah.
And I thought, this looks like an interesting movie to me. I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about it until I saw it. And I really got involved and I got interested in this movie the more it went on.
So it pulls you in
Yeah.
throughout
It
the
pulled
story.
me in, and it's like I was impressed.
Good.
We were talking too. Yeah. Go ahead.
It's legitimately a great movie. I mean, like I identify with a lot of the stuff that happens in the movie. Like I mean, I didn't have like drug issues in my family. Really, like my dad likes to drink on occasion, but I don't know that he's not an alcoholic or anything. But as far as like, I mean, like the abuse and stuff, and just absolute family being crazy, like I got that in spades, like
That's really, you get that from the movie. It's like, it's kind of a, every family, if you have crazy stuff going on in your family, don't worry, because every family has the
holidays, like
has the
right
capability.
now, you got this holiday season where every person out there is going to either be part of or hear a story where somebody in their family or their neighbor or whoever is going to have some traumatic stuff going on. And then this movie all of a sudden will kind of weave its way into their thoughts, which is cool.
Yeah. That's like, shit, man. I just started talking on stage about like my mom had an attempted murder charge on my dad, and like I mean, I remember one time they were arguing about whose weekend it was for visitation, and so my dad flattened the tires on like my grandmother's car, my granddad's car, my mom's car, and he did it all with like one of those keychain Swiss Army knives. Like, you know how much hate you have to trying to flatten 12 tires with that thing?
Because it's got some force on it, and it's a little tiny incision, so you got to put a few in there, or it's gonna.
If you've ever used one of those knives, even if you've only used it to open an envelope, you've had that close on you and cut your like he had to. His hands had to have been destroyed after that. Like there's no.
Well, it sounds to me like he has good hands. Like maybe in some parallel, in like a parallel alternate universe, he was supposed to be a surgeon. We don't.
Yeah, I guess. I talked to
piano maker or something.
I couldn't do that. Not a chance.
I talked to my brother about it just recently because he was asking me about like, because he found out I was doing jokes about my mom's attempted murder charge, and he's like, He's like, I had forgotten all about that.
I didn't even realize.
He had blocked it out.
You see material, and he just maybe blocked it out.
He saw PTSD, and you're like, I'm talking about this on stage.
Yeah.
She didn't end up going to jail or anything over it. The only thing that, ended up happening about it, because my grandparents were wealthy, so they had we weren't, but my grandparents were, and so they hired like the best attorney. The guy ended up becoming a judge after that, but like he. Got her off on the charge, and the only thing that came of it was she was a teacher and she could no longer teach after that. She went back into like she became an eye tech because that's what my grandfather was an ophthalmologist, and so she'd been around doing eye stuff since she was a kid. So I'm certain that was a far more lucrative path than teaching anyway.
Because that's kind of like that's how the path goes in this movie.
But Amy Adams' character, she's doing heroin and stuff, and she's a pretty in a good position as a nurse, and then she she's got to take a job as they catch her, she fails drug tests, whatever, and then she's got to go get a job at like the old folks home, and it's probably less money, you figure, and they don't really explain all that, because that to me that's a good movie too, when they don't really explain it verbatim. They kind of just hint at it at some point in the movie. She's like, well, I guess I got to go get a job at ABC, whatever, however the scene gets played out. And you're like, that's a good movie because, that's a good way to just be subtle about it and not necessarily spell it all out for you. Like, yeah,
that's why I was like watching this thing going, oh yeah, I come from a crazy family. I identify with this wholeheartedly. Like, I mean, it was. I
have family down in. They've all passed on by now, but it was like great grandparents down in Virginia. So it was very similar to like, we had the little place to go swimming, and we went fishing, and it was like family summer or spring break. One time, all my mom and all her sisters, the whole family went down there at one point, and we, take a picture in front of the tree or whatever. And it was like, so all that stuff was like flashbacks to me. And the beginning of the movie, I was actually like, that was my one critique, was like, there wasn't more of that flashback of him like floating in the river. Cause, or just that, he's like, me in the river, you're one with the river, whatever he says at the beginning of the movie, where he's like talking about how he connects with that vacation place,
Yeah, it was,
so that was definitely a personal, like, connection I had. I don't have any drug abuse or anything really, and there's some alcoholism, but that's about it. But that moment of going and driving for 6-8 hours, whatever it is, to go and visit with family, that I've definitely experienced.
Yeah, well, yeah, I've definitely done that. We used to come up to Tennessee once a year to visit family, but it was interesting. Like when I was a kid, most of our family, with the exception of my grandparents, lived out of state. And I was always like, tried to hide the fact that we had craziness going on in my own family. Like, when we're here, they think we're normal. And then like something would happen, like my brother and my dad would get into like a fist fight in the middle of Thanksgiving. I'm like, no, everyone knows.
We're supposed
cover's blown.
We're supposed to be keeping that under wraps. Yeah.
I haven't seen this movie yet, but you made a good point. There's that 10% perfection that like a family can kind of put on a front using that 10%. But that shit wears out, man. Like that doesn't stay for a long, and especially if you have old wounds, booze, drugs, a lot of people in a small place, domestic stuff, like that 10% just vanishes, and then it's the truth, and that's when you see some sibling and some family stuff go down. That's crazy.
Man, in my adult life, I remember like going and meeting up with cousins that have like moved to, most all of our family was basically in Tennessee and South Carolina. And now, some of them are in like Ohio and Virginia and stuff like that. And I went and visited some of them. And, like I was telling them stories about stuff that happened to me as a kid, about my stepdad and stuff. And they're like, we had heard stories, but, we didn't truly know. We knew, but we didn't know. We knew something was going on. And I was like,
different versions of the story too. Like,
I was like, I felt like we, you guys had no idea. We were just like, we were regular people when we came up. And no one had any.
That's like, I'm one of the older cousins of like, I've lost track. I think it's somewhere around 17 or 18 people on one side of the family. But it's great because, being one of the older ones, there's divorces I remember that the younger cousins don't remember. There's vacations that were a disaster. There's totaled cars. There's intoxicated family members. There's probably some rehab trips. There's some stock market what ifs. There's some failed businesses. There's just stuff that I picked up on because I was alive in the 80s and the other cousins were not.
Yeah, I'm the oldest in my family.
Right. So that's the thing. Like we caught your mom and you have like I remember when that guy had a full head of hair and it was luscious and nobody else below me knows that. But that's the best part about being one of the older cousins is you get those memories because you see I had aunts and uncles that were still like in their early 20s. They were totally just partying their asses off. And then the cousin that's 10 years younger than me has no memory of that.
Well, the thing of it is like back then in like the 80s and 90s, there wasn't the internet like there is now. So everyone did social media and all that. So if something happened, like my parents did stuff like they got in arguments and they ran their cars under each other, or like the attempted murder thing was basically they got in an argument over whose weekend it was, and they were like, yelling at each other and like doing that thing couples do. They're like, I know this is gonna get under your skin. The next person's like, well, I can do better than that. The next person's like, no, I want to fucking top that.
Yeah, domestic Jenga.
Yeah. My mom.
Oh yeah, let me knock this one out. Now let's see you stand up.
I know this one's gonna really fucking hit.
Yeah, this whole thing's coming down when I'm done. Yeah.
My mom grabbed our Little League baseball bat, and my dad was like, "Oh shit!" He went running and jumped in his car, and she like smashed in the windshield, and fucking took off.
See, that's why you got to go with aluminum. You can't use wood. You need
aluminum.
That's what I'm saying. It was but growing up, because I imagine we're somewhere around the same age. That's what you grew up with, aluminum bats, because then your parents could really do some damage with them. Yeah.
I mean, we had one badass wooden bat that was like my dad's when he was a kid. It was a Louisville baseball bat, but I've never in my life felt a bat that was this heavy. Like, I don't know what kind of wood they made them out of back then.
Yeah.
But the ones they have now that are wood are way lighter. Yeah. They're nowhere near as dense. And
density is the word I was going to use, right?
That bat, you could send a ball way farther than any.
Well, you're not taking that to a windshield or like the frame, like the window frame on a door. Yeah, honestly, again, smart move to go with aluminum.
I think the only reason that I think the only reason it ended up like her getting off is because she didn't never hit him with the bat.
Never
like
connected.
They were able to knock it down because it basically just vandalism or something.
Swing and a miss probably kept her out of prison.
There was no battery. It was just like attempted assault. So it's like lower.
All those times Dad was supposed to go to the batting cages with Mom and he didn't take her. It paid off in the end because it kept her out of jail and he doesn't have a broken leg.
The funny thing is, like, so my mom used to tell me this story about like part of the reason they got divorced when I was 1.
Wow.
And she used to tell the story about like when she was pregnant with me, that he like chased her down the street holding the baseball bat and all this. And they got remarried like 2 years ago. Yeah, just in my adult life, I've had like the first like Thanksgiving with everyone sitting at the table. Like the first year, I think my dad would be so mad if he knew I was telling anyone this. The first year, he got like, we were supposed to have Thanksgiving. I went down for Thanksgiving, and he got arrested because he was going through a divorce with my stepmom, and he had like a no contact thing, and he had like contacted her, and so like they sent the cops and like picked him up, like fucking like I think it was the morning of Thanksgiving or like the day before. He was in jail for like Thanksgiving. He's so embarrassed about it. But like, I mean, like,
Oh my
that
God.
kind of shit, like my whole life has just been craziness like that going on.
Oh man.
I mean, if you wonder how comedians get made, that's how it happens.
Hey, I was just gonna say you're making great relatable story topics that are also making all of us go, holy shit.
Yeah.
Well, the funny thing is, like, I was like, I want to talk about these kind of things on stage at some point, and I always thought I'd be vague. And no, like I'm talking like about specific things. Jay Moore is the one who got me to say the first crazy thing. Like I told him a story about my stepdad throwing me around the room when
You
I
got to
was
say that on stage. Yeah.
and he was like, he gave me the first punchline, and then I never thought I'd laugh about it. I laughed about it, and then I tagged it like 2 or 3 times, and he's like, you need to come to the show tonight and do a guest spot and try that out. And I remember going to the show, and I was doing all this other stuff that I knew worked, and in my head I'm going, I gotta eventually do this joke. And then I got the light, and I was like, well, it's fucking now or never. And so I did the joke. And the funny thing is, like, people laughed, and I think they laughed because they didn't think it was true. And then, like, it got a huge laugh, which made me just start laughing hysterically. Because, like, it was such a huge weight lifted off my shoulders. Because, again, it was like, this is shit I used to hide from people. Like, I felt embarrassed that this happened to me for some reason.
Yeah, but you take a weakness and you turn it into a strength, and that's what it's all about, man.
Yeah.
Exactly. That, to me, is what makes it like that's what makes it art, you know.
That's good shit. Yeah, that makes it better. It makes it real.
The funny thing is, I started then, like, well, I'm gonna do more. I'm gonna run the light a little bit, and I'm just gonna work on this shit. And I started telling other jokes, and you could see the room just like slowly start to realize, like, this is like, they just slowly
real.
Yeah. And then I was like all right, well, I'll see you guys later.
Yeah, let me completely form this over time. But you just saw the raw part. The raw part was
the feature went up, and good dude, we're buddies now. I think it was the first time I met him. He got up there and started making fun of me because I had like laughed so much on stage or whatever. And I was in the green room talking with Jay when he got off, and Jay was like, you know that what he said on stage, like, that's true. Like, he told me the true story, and we wrote that this morning. And like, the look on his face was like, what the fuck? Like, seriously?
Wow.
Dude, I told, before I had that joke, I told the true story of that, like, verbatim, everything about it. The first time I'd ever talked about it, like, live was on, or like publicly, was on Felipe Esparza's podcast. And I then, after I had the joke, I was doing a tour with him. I think we're in Kentucky. And I started to do the joke, and you could hear someone in the audience go, oh, this is a real story. And he said, like, it's a quiet room, and he said it loud enough, everyone heard, and you could feel the room like a fucking vacuum. Like, everyone, and I had already figured out at that point, like, I had to address the fact that it's a true story. So I already had that written into the bit, but it was like I find with jokes like that, people laugh about it they either laugh because they think there's no way it's true, or they laugh because they've been through something similar and they've come out the other side and they're like, I'm fine with it. Or they're horrified because they know it's true.
And then they're just laughing to like make themselves feel better about being horrified.
Well, if they're horrified by it, they're one of the few people that aren't laughing at it. Or they're
closest dog.
They've been through something similar and they're not yet ready to,
Not everybody's comfortable with that level of realness, but it usually leads to good stuff, especially when you're talking comedy. That's really cool. My favorite stuff when I'm listening to podcasts or comics is when they're getting to a real story. Like Jay Moore, because you mentioned him, did a great special talking about his kids and when he was married at the time, and how every time he's talking to fans that come up to him that are black, they put an S on his name for some reason. Like little stuff like that, it really happened to him, and it made it so much more entertaining.
He's so funny, Jay Moore.
Yeah, Jay Moore's my man. Jay Moore's, he does. I think he's probably my second favorite Tracy Morgan of all time. His impersonation is spot on. I didn't realize Eddie Murphy did one until recently, and Eddie is first place, but Jay Moore's Jay Moore's, you know my number 2, dog. Man. When I watch a comic, to me the best stuff is like the stuff that's funny, but you can tell it's real, and there's like a teeny bit of like pain still there. Like, like it's not, they're not like upset on stage, but like they're just like, they're still working through it a little bit. It's still a little. You told a story about Chris Farley trying to poop on him at SNL, and then like chasing him around the office with poop on his hand. Like he told that story, and the whole time he's telling it, you're laughing, but you're like, that sounds terrifying.
Oh,
Chris Farley's way bigger than Jay Moore. He actually like pinned him down with poop on his hand. That's the most terrifying thing ever. Insane. Like that, but that's real good shit. I guess that's what makes it great.
Yeah, man.
Tony, you're yawning on camera. That was wonderful.
No one know that.
Well, either that or you were like holding a note, like at the very top of your range. I don't know. The lips were quivering. That was like Mel Torme at the grand finale, like at the high note of his ballad.
Let's go with that story instead.
All right.
Did you want me to tell the stories of the stuff that happened on set once I got on set?
Well, yeah, like the one I liked was you were talking about like trying to just like talk to Ron Howard after like you were done filming for the day and you were like getting shuffled out of there.
The two interesting things to me that happened on set were, the first one was if you watch the movie, it's a true story about a dude, and there's a kid version of him and there's an adult version of him, and the scene I'm in is with the kid, and it must have been one of the first days, if not the first day, that the kid was on set. Like he was clearly trying to get, like he knew Ron Howard was a big deal, but I don't think he knew who Ron Howard was, because like he was trying to get favor with him, but at one point he called him Rob, and like Ron was like, actually it's Ron, but he didn't say it in like any way that the kid should have taken offense to it, but he clearly did. Like you can tell he's gonna be beating himself up about it for the rest of his life, because he was like, well, he did one of those things. He did one of those things where he was like Farley, like, put on a good face. Put on a good face.
Yeah.
The other thing that happened was after we were done shooting, which by the way, so the reason I canceled that gig wasn't because it coincided with my fitting, but back then I had injured myself in a play and my back was all fucked up, and the fitting was a week before shooting. And I knew if I showed up there and could barely walk, they're going to replace me. So like when they walked up to hand me my Radio Shack name tag, they had one for a girl and one for a dude. So they were ready to replace me like up to the moment of shooting. And so afterwards, like they're taking my name tag and all that stuff off. We're sitting in a holding cell or whatever, like back in that room where, actually it wasn't the original room. It was a different one. I'm telling you, they had literally the whole block put up. When they were doing the shots, like it was the whole front of the thing was glass, and then they had a sidewalk, a street that was one direction going this way, a full like I've never seen a median so big. Like it was like a football field of a median, and then traffic going the other way. And they had cars going in both directions and like people walking and stuff. You don't see any of it in the movie, but every time they called cut, the people would start walking backwards and the cars would start driving the other way and stuff.
Would rewind like the Truman Show or something?
It was just like the Truman Show. It's fucking weird.
All right, reset back to 1, and then yeah.
So when Ron would say cut, someone on a walk would go, all right, cut, reset, and you'd hear someone outside vaguely on, all right, that kind of thing. It was fucking weird.
Yeah, because there's the scene inside the Radio Shack, and then there's like the scene. It kind of cuts to her and the kid in the car, and she's like, ranting at him.
I'm saying
you can't really see a lot of background, action going on, but they have that going on when they're filming, just in case coverage and all that.
Yeah, the camera was I'd never seen anything like it. The camera was like a guy had basically the sensor for the camera, right, on a thing, and he was just holding it, and then it had a cable of wires that was literally about this big, went over his shoulder, and went around to a guy who had a backpack on with the full body of the camera. So like the basically just the lens was all the guy was holding and the sensor. And so they were walking around the store, and I guess they had all that shit going on outside just in case there was a glimpse of it ever, but you don't see any of that in the movie. So like all of those extras, all those people driving the cars and stuff, you don't see any of that shit in the movie. But so after we're sitting around in this thing, Ron is talking to the kid about whatever the next scene is they're going to do. And I had met Ron's assistant on the movie earlier in the day, and Ron went walking by me to go to the bathroom, and I was like looking at him like should I ask? And I was like, I went there with like going, don't ask Ron for a picture. And I was like, yeah, but we're not doing shit right now. Like, this would be a great time to ask. So I went over to his assistant.
I got my phone right here. Just snap, quick one. Yeah.
I was, yeah. It would have taken 2 seconds. I went over to Ron's assistant. I'm like, hey man, I don't. It's okay if it's a no. Like, I don't want to, be a bother. But I was like, is it all right if I get a photo with Ron, before I head back? And he was like, yeah, man, that's great. Thank you so much for asking me, because most of the time everyone goes right to Ron. So, I mean, this is great. Thank you so much for talking to me about it. And he immediately walked right out the door, which is glass, and stood there and went like into his walkie. And immediately my handler comes running and goes, hey, we got your van ready for you outside. We'll take you on out of here. And I was like,
that's a good assistant. No, the story sucks for us as fans, but that's what you want with an assistant. You want somebody who's like, totally, yes, thanks for asking me because I'm paid to be a little bit asshole. He's supposed to be the guy on the pedestal. Don't knock him off. Don't take a swing at the pedestal with an aluminum bat or a wooden bat. Don't do that. Talk to me. I'm the hired asshole. That's the guy I'd like to be. I would love to be a hired asshole.
I was like, man, I should have stuck with my gut and not asked for a photo. So immediately I got whisked out of there. So we're all staying in the exact same hotel, and I went out to eat and then came back to the hotel and hit the elevator button. And who should be on the elevator but Ron's assistant is coming off the elevator, and like he has that moment, he's like, ugh! And I was like, hey man, I said, I'm sorry I asked. I know he's a busy dude. I wasn't trying to cause a problem. He's like, I was like, I get it. His time's money and whatnot. And he was like, oh, no. If you'd have stayed there another 5 minutes, you totally could have gotten a photo, man. And I was like, come on.
Or that Radio Shack name tag comes in handy for the other person. You don't know. You just don't know. You can't trust the assistant. They're not trustworthy. Not at all.
I've heard a few of those Hollywood minute stories where it's like this facade, and then you get
I
totally exist.
I had a buddy of mine who he did sound for the reshoots, and he was like, he was like, dude, we didn't reshoot your scenes, so it's probably in there. Like, this is back when I didn't know the if my scene was even in there or not. And he's like, and I told him the story. And he's like, you definitely got handled. However, he's like, I don't think Ron would have made that call because he's not like that. He's like, I worked with him. He worked with them for a couple of months, doing the reshoots on the movie. And he's like, that was probably the assistant made that call of, I'm going to take care of this so Ron doesn't get bothered. Like he doesn't think that Ron would ever. He's like, he's not that kind of person. He wants, if someone wants photo, fine. He wants.
But that's the whole thing about the assistant. Ron is so nice that all the people waiting for Ron, standing around him in a circle, are rolling their eyes like, damn it, he's being nice again. Damn it, that's another picture, another 30-second conversation that we don't have time for. So the people below him are totally the pit bulls. And you just painted that picture so perfectly.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
Hell yeah. That's like an offensive line just blocking.
I wouldn't have even asked if it wasn't that we were literally just sitting around waiting for them to get ready for the next shot. They were getting the car ready to do the outside scene.
But it's a great lesson, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, my acting teacher had been like, don't ask for a photo. Like, you're not, the professional thing is not ask for a photo. And I was like, I don't want to ask. And then I was like, I mean, we're not doing shit. Like, this is
there's a little.
And I can sneak this little in there and just real quick, because
it wasn't the right move.
The Impractical Jokers cruise we've been on, I've had some similar interactions. Just not like I'm trying to just walk through or go have a cigarette or go like I'm trying to go to the buffet. Yeah. And they would walk by and then there was the one I was just doing like a lap around the upper deck of the ship and Sal came by with like the whole entourage because he was going to have dinner with his family. So he was like being shuffled this way so nobody would see where he was going because it was kind of in the open, but it was closed. That area was that like back area where they had the buffet was outside. They had that all closed off. They had that all closed off for like family dinner night, like the first night of the cruise. So he's like, walking by and they're doing this, like, they're like kind of like sizing me up. And I'm like, I'm just walking by. Don't worry about me.
Yeah. Not a threat.
I already got a picture. Like I'm not, and then there's nothing you can do to convey in like 2-3 words. Like I work in the industry. I know how to deal with actors or, talent. Like I work behind the scenes. I know all the drills.
We're not mental.
The one other guy's handler or a bodyguard guy I was talking to him for a minute about that. I was like, yeah, I know the drill. Like, and they're probably thinking I'm just telling them that just so I'm have on their good graces and maybe they'll give me a free pass. I don't know. There's no way to get through that yet.
The funny thing is,
and like I couldn't stare at him, but I could be in the background shot.
Oh yeah, you're like, hey, I think it's you don't even know the show. You're like, I think it's Q, and he's out here climbing something, and I walk out. He's over here, and I walk out this door, and then I immediately hit the guys that are like blocking the ends of the, like you're saying, like the ends of the street.
I don't want to pretend to be playing shuffleboard.
And I see him across the way, like waving, and like he's like, because he was texting me, hey, he's over here. Okay. And I had just like, again, go have a cigarette. And I was just like, don't worry about me. And I like stayed in that spot because that was the smoking area. And those guys are like, waiting for people to block traffic. And it was like, they get a little full of themselves or whatever you want to call it on their job. Like they take it serious, and that's what you want.
Yeah. I mean, the funny thing about it, I've kind of fucked up on both sides. Like there's been times where I have for a photo and like I did media with Pauly Shore and he was he was just kind of upset. He's like, you don't want to like get a photo of me and talk to me and stuff? Like what's happening?
He was offended that you didn't ask him.
He was like one of those kennel puppies that just really wants to be adopted.
He's definitely like that indoor cat like thing. Like he's like love me or he gets mad at people. I've seen him both ways on podcasts and things.
I got to meet Carrot Top after a show. Like someone that owns a comedy club that knows him had set it up to where like I got to go backstage with a buddy of mine. I've got a friend of mine who's like we've been friends for like 25 years, and he went into like the tech industry, and he's like he's not wealthy, but he's doing very well for himself. And then there's me, and so I typically try to, like, things that he can't buy, I try to give him experiences like that, like meeting Carrot Top or whatever. And afterwards, like when we were leaving, I was like, all right, we swapped, stories about doing stand up or whatever. And then as we were walking out, I was like, all right, it's nice meeting you. And he was like, you don't want a photo? Do you want a photo?
Oh, no. Oh, poor Carrot Top.
And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, let's have a photo. Take a photo. But I was like, like, okay, don't ask, because like there's another comic that I like had looked up to for a minute, and I got to do media with them. When I say that, I used to be the guy that would like drive comics around for the Improv in Orlando, like take them to, the media runs.
Right.
There's one comic I really hit it off with, who like I was like, this guy is a big deal. I'm like, we became like best buds basically over the course of the weekend. And then at the end of the weekend, I was like, hey, can I get a photo with you? And he was like, you too? Like he was so upset. He's like, he's like, I thought we had some kind of thing. Like, yeah, but it's you. Like,
yeah. Because that like ruins their whole. You're like trying to be on their good graces, and we're both comics or whatever the similar whatever the what's that synergy whatever is, and it's like you're gonna ruin that by just being a fan. I feel like I've done that
There's
to
no
a few people.
There's
no way to.
That are so nice and they genuinely want it. So if you're just consistently like, go fuck yourself, wink.
Yeah.
It doesn't work, because the comics that are really nice and they're like, well, I guess it's like every other person that told me to go fuck myself.
Yeah.
You just don't know.
Or the ones that are like, why didn't no one ask me for a picture? Like what? Somebody like Carrot Top was probably sick of it, and you're like, you don't want. Just totally throws your balance off.
I feel like he put all that work into his arms and his lips and his Botox.
So you would, because you want people to take photos of.
He wants that thing to look great.
Oh no. It was almost like it was like some with Carrot Top. It was somewhere in like the between of like he I don't know if he was asking because he's like maybe he wants this and he just doesn't want to ask, or if he was a little bit like sad. Is like really don't know? Or
because maybe he's aware of the fact that there was like a 5-year window that you could not walk into a room and not get a selfie with Carrot Top, and then 5 years later, like there's a trend downward. And you're like, oh, that's got to, like, Pauly Shore's got to feel that way too. There's a point in Pauly Shore's career where he's like, sorry, I can't hang out with you. I have to go work at MTV for the next 12 days. And now it's like, yeah, I got time. It's cool. Yeah, no problem. No worries.
I worked with a comic who was like, at one point was pretty huge. And he was telling me that he's like, I mean, if you keep trying for it, eventually you'll get fame, but he's like, no one keeps it forever. It's not an end destination. No. It's an arc. And he said the thing about it is that most people can't handle the downward trend. He's like if you think about it, there's only like maybe 4 people who've been able to keep it, like Brad Pitt, there's but like he's like, even look at Arnold Schwarzenegger. Like you could not get any bigger than Arnold Schwarzenegger was around the time of like Terminator 2. You know what I mean? But like now,
and he's had so many different like facades too. He was a bodybuilder, actor, governor, and then he's out doing TV. Like he's a cartoon at this point.
Really separate waves.
Totally.
Perfectly.
Everybody does an impression of him. You're not losing that guy very soon.
When you think about it, the guy's had a crazy life. Like he basically moved from another country, learned a new language, became a movie star and like the best bodybuilder in the world, and like married royalty in a different country, basically. Like is like a
I did like a 40-hour audiobook on Arnold, and I will tell you, everything about his life is incredible.
Yeah.
From car accidents that should have put him behind bars or gotten him deported, to military equipment rolling down a hill because he wasn't putting the brake on properly, driving through a wall with a tank. This is the stuff that happened before he was famous. To the maid scandal. It's insane how much stuff has happened to that guy.
It's and like there's probably kids right now that have no idea who he is. You know what I mean? Like, what happened to Tony? We lose Tony?
He's tapping out.
Tony's turn to hit the restroom.
Yeah.
It's Tony's turn to drop it. What'd you guys eat?
I don't want to brag.
The dogs like
They're hanging around with each other too much. Our cycles are lined up.
I don't want to brag or anything, but I'm the only person on this end of the podcast that hasn't gotten up to do anything. And that's because I piss and shit in a bucket.
Yeah.
And there's a hole in my chair.
Depends. Yeah.
It depends.
I'm gonna take you guys with me into the bathroom right now.
Yes.
Oh no! Nobody wants just to test out like the phone feature, and it was hilarious.
No, actually, we should wrap only because it's a school night for yours truly.
Yeah. All of us. Yeah.
But yeah, this was great. I hope we can talk again because there's got to be a million other things we can go over.
Oh, yeah.
You're interested in your profession.
I'd be happy to.
Yeah, for sure.
And obviously hoping that, all this stuff blows over soon and you can, because usually like March or like May, June is your like little window. You've always like historically they come up here to Chicago.
Oh, yeah.
So
It's probably been about the last like 5 or 6 years I've been coming up to Chicago. And originally it was to get in with the Laugh Factory.
Okay.
And so in order to get in with the Laugh Factory, I had to do a 3-minute set and then a 5-minute set and then an 8-minute set and then a 10-minute set in order to get paid $30. But but each time I had to make a trip to Chicago.
Yeah.
So
and it's the Laugh Factory. That's like the big three in LA at least is the Laugh Factory, the Improv, and the Comedy Store.
Like I
So
think
that's like your core of
probably somewhere up here I've got the
we're going mobile.
There we go. I've got like I've got framed like this is my first check from doing stand-up.
There you go.
This is my first check from doing TV. And I'll try to cover up the numbers for the check, but you can see
Awesome.
$30.
$30. Now did you cash that check or you just framed it?
Oh yeah, that's a photocopy of it.
Okay.
But
because now you can just take pictures of checks with your phone. Like you can almost save a check like that. It's a real thing now.
Hypothetically, if you had a long
Deposit.
ride like from the airport to a comedy store or a comedy
Location. The Uber guy giving you a ride could make more money than you would make getting on stage.
Oh, yeah.
And doing. That's the life of a comic, man. That's insane.
It depends on the show and whatnot, but like
Right.
The thing about the comedy or the Laugh Factory is they don't have shows like normally, like there's a host, a feature, and a headliner. It's all a showcase. So no one's ever doing longer than like 15 minutes.
Nice.
So like on a Friday and Saturday night, I think they pay I think you get like $60 or something to do a longer set. But like, yeah, I mean that $30 probably cost me like 2 or 3 thousand.
Right, yeah, $1,000.
For your own mental health, let's not even try to do
But
that.
that's the life of a comedian too, and that's like why there's only X amount of people doing that job. Like you gotta want to do it. Like I've had, I have my own qualms about it. Like, but I've had like, oh man, I could try to do that. Totally.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
I'm like,
so
yeah.
in order to make that feasible, what I would do is I would set up like 4 weeks or 5 weeks of work. I think 1 year, I think the lowest year was maybe 3 weeks of work. So I would drive up and do that stuff. And then like on a night where I didn't have a show, or I would leave a weekend open in the middle to do a show at the Laugh Factory. And then in doing so, that got me more rooms and knowing other comics in the area. But that's what you do is you just like, all right, well, I want to, you know, get in this club over here or that club over there. And it's like, it's weird. Like some of them are like, you know, we don't want to see a clip. We've got to, you know, we got to see it. But Felipe actually helped me out with that. Like originally what you're supposed to do is get on the open mic. And then if they like you on the open mic, then you do the 3-minute set and then the 5-minute set, the 8-minute, and the 10 and whatnot. And I got to skip the open mic because Felipe made a phone call. He just picked the phone and was like, hey, this guy opens for me. Like, let him on, you know, a Friday night. And so I got my first 3-minute was on a Friday night. And I had a really good set. And that was enough for the guy to go, all right, we'll have you on, you know,
Awesome.
we'll get you back into a 5. So
Yeah, that's one of those who you know versus what you know, or moments. Yeah, like
But somebody
just having a good friend.
having trust in you,
having a
right?
good friend.
I
That's
mean-
like, you're in the business with these people, and they're like, you go on as a feature or whatever, and
I didn't even ask him to do it. I didn't know what's happening until a guy that like also used to open for Felipe told me when I got there. It's like, yeah, Felipe made a phone call, and that's why you got moved from the Wednesday to the Friday. I was like,
wow,
fucking hell yeah, that's awesome.
Attaboy. Very nice.
But like it's kind of like the don't ask for pictures thing. I've never, you know, it's like the unspoken thing of, you know, don't ask to be moved up by a club, you know, don't ask to do all these little things. And so you just keep going until someone asks you to do shit.
But there are generous people out there, which is cool to hear. That's good.
Yeah, no one's been nicer to me in the industry than Felipe. As far as comics, like he's taken me around to more states, let me open for him more places than anyone else. Like that dude is, as far as I'm concerned, an absolute gem of a human being.
Yep. And I bet you somebody paid it forward to him for him to do that for you too.
totally, yeah.
Yep.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. That's what you want to hear. Very cool.
Yeah, I went and saw him at the Improv just on a whim. He was in town. I didn't even realize he was till the last minute. But I think you were on tour with him and on and off at that point, but you weren't on that particular night of it. So, but I told him, hey, your buddy Adam, blah blah blah, and he said, yeah, he's a cool guy, yeah. So I know you're friend. You my friend too.
Did you just go Bobcat on there? You want to talk to my friend? He's a good guy.
I wouldn't have met up with him. I was doing like some leg of some tour in the Midwest, and they were in Chicago, and I went and met up with him, and he let me like crash in like one of the, like he had like one of those hotel suites that has like a living room.
Sure.
So he let me crash in his living room of his hotel that night. But like that was when I found out that I booked that Marvel show. He was I was telling him I auditioned for the show, and he was telling me he was at the time he had like auditioned for the Venom movie, and he was waiting to hear back on that. And literally as we were hanging out, I got the email that I booked it. I was like, oh shit, I booked it. Maybe he'll book the Venom movie. I mean, he didn't. He wasn't in the Venom movie as far as I know. But like we were all excited about the different things we were auditioning for, and then I happened to get that email right then.
He was in a movie recently. Oh, he was have you seen the Jimmy O Yang, the middle act movie?
Yeah. He played a taxi driver.
Yeah, he was the taxi driver. They go all the way out to like Bufu because that's where the chick lives, and he's like, maybe I get laid, whatever. But then
I've been that guy.
But then Tom Segura is her boyfriend, and he comes home. She's like, shit, you gotta hide the closet.
He played a fucking perfect cab driver. Like
he's like fuck this, I'm out of here.
Yeah, every cab driver would have done that. They're not waiting in the middle of fucking nowhere.
And he's trying to like call the cab again when he's trying to escape the house, hiding under the trailer or whatever. That's a good movie. Yeah, that was another like mutual comedian we all know, Steve Byrne. They directed that.
Dude, Steve Byrne.
That whole family right there, because his opener, Gary
Canada.
Yeah, he does like openings. He does like warm up on Conan and a few other things. But we got to talk to him, and he's another guy. Hey, you want to get tickets? If you're coming out to LA, you can get tickets to Conan. Like he's like the nicest dude. So shout out to Gary Cannon and Steve Byrne for sure.
They were both. I met them both individually of each other before I knew that they knew each other, and they were both independently extremely nice to me. Like I was just starting out when I met Steve, and he was super nice to me. I think I was maybe 6 months into comedy when I met him. And he was super fucking nice to me. And then I was doing a comedy festival in Burbank, which I didn't realize it was like a joke festival. Like people locally are like, "You're doing that one?" But like, we were on the same show, and yeah, he invited me to come out to Conan, and he in part of his warm up, he like chooses random people to come up and like dance on stage or whatever, and do like a dance contest, and he chose me randomly. I guess I didn't know it was going to happen, but he chose me.
We worked it out before the show. I got some sweet moves I'm going to show everybody.
He chose me, and like I'm like, I don't know how often I'm going to be on this fucking stage, so I'm going to go crazy. And like everyone else was like, a lot of people he chose were like, legitimately audience members, and so they're all nervous and standing there. And I went nuts and like fucking took my shirt off and threw it into the crowd and like did the worm and everything, and like I slid on my knees on the stage. What I didn't realize was the stage is made up of these planks that are like 3 feet, 5 feet, and they've got a gap between them like as big as a Sharpie.
It's like modular, so they can move it around and rearrange it.
Very painful expression on your face.
Yeah,
when you
I fucking wrecked my knee like a cheese grater sliding over one of those things. Like my knee was all bleeding afterwards, but I was like,
it's like, oh God, that sounds horrible.
I'm pretty certain on one knee I've got like a scar from the fucking Conan stage.
Now, are you cringing because of experience, or are you just like
you're picturing what he's talking about?
Splinters and a bloody knee is what I did before he even said it.
Yeah.
We have to wrap up this pod, but I want you to come back on because we're not ending this with
no.
We need to end it, but we
Dude, it was a fucking pleasure. Thank you so much for having me on.
Hell yeah, man.
Great.
Have a wonderful Thanksgiving, and we'll definitely catch up with you again soon.
All of us will be fatter because we'll be eating.
Tony and I were talking. Actually, Tony and I were possibly going to be heading down to Florida in February. We'll talk about that. We're gonna maybe even do like some video.
Oh my gosh!
Do some like do a vlog, or like everybody's doing these vlogs. I've ran into so many people like you. I finally started watching your videos. If you want to go to, is there a specific?
Oh yes.
It's Adam Murray Live, I believe, .com, correct?
Well,
Adam Murray Live?
If you're looking for my YouTube channel, just search Adam Murray. You'll find me.
Search for Adam Murray. Okay, because there's some more stories about the movie.
Yeah, I got like 4 videos I put out. Like I filmed what it was like to go get my fitting, and I filmed, my day on set. Like I couldn't show what was actually going on set, but I show off my trailer and talk about what I was dealing with my back and all that. Like I was honest about everything.
Then you got some vlogs about food and eating hot peppers and things like that. Just random stuff. Yeah.
I ate like a ghost pepper and I put Carolina Reaper on a pizza, and I did stuff like one of my favorite vlogs I did. I don't know if they got a lot of views, but like doing the first theater I ever did was with Felipe, and so I made a vlog about we were in like Milwaukee or something, and I did a theater with him, and I just showed the whole process. I started putting videos like that out because I didn't know a single other comic that was doing that. And I figured that, people might want to see what, the actual process is like. So like a lot of the videos were like going to Atlanta for an audition, stuff like that.
Right. Yep.
All right, well, here's what it's like. And I've had other comics go like, you show a lot of like driving in the car, and I'm like, that's what it's like. Like,
Yeah.
That's reality.
Yep. Because
There
that's,
was
that's what I've been doing with this whole quarantine thing. I've been watching. There's people out in California or Florida that go to Disney and stuff all the time. That's why I was like, we should go shoot our own video because I see all these videos and some of them are boring and some of them are just bad. I'm like, I could do better than that. Or
Fucking amateurs.
there was a movie called The Short Story, and it was about a guy that went to go visit his brother by driving across the country on a lawnmower. And
I've heard of this.
One scene in the movie where you see the guy driving across like it's a wide shot. He's on the lawnmower, just slowly going across the screen. I was like, why the fuck is this in the movie? Like, why does this exist? And it's like they're showing you what it truly would be like to drive across the country
going 3 miles an hour at a time. Yeah.
So a lot of these vlogs and stuff that I did when I'm actually driving, I'll show some of the scenery and because it's like, I mean, sometimes we're spending 8 hours in a day to fucking go do these gigs or whatever, 8 hours in a car to go do these gigs. Like
driving from Orlando to Atlanta, what is that? 8 hours, 6-8 hours, right?
It's 7, plus
7,
There you go.
So like, in order to go to Chicago each year, it was like Orlando to Atlanta or Knoxville, and then from there to like somewhere in Chicago, and then that would be a hub, and then I'd go to like Indiana and Minnesota and all those places. But
yeah, there's a good comedy club in Madison too. Have you done comedy on state in Madison ever?
That was where I was booked to open for Ari Shafir.
Okay, so that's right. I think I remember you telling me that. Yeah.
I was so excited to, number one, be working with Ari, and number two, be doing that club that at the time it was listed as the best comedy club in the entire country.
That's one of the best little ones I've been to. Yeah.
I was like losing my shit. Like, this is amazing. I'm about to basically enter comedy royalty, because that's basically what the punchline was a club that is that good, that old, that everyone knows. And I was super excited about it. And then he ended up bringing his own dude. And I was like, damn it. But the way the chair crumbles sometimes.
That chair is like another character in here. Is that? I'm trying to figure out what that is.
Like a bed from a hotel.
Oh, that is the chair. Okay.
That's the chair, yeah.
You're approaching 2 hours, and I only say that because I know we normally
we're fine. Yeah.
Just we usually go longer.
But yeah, good talking to you. We'll talk to you again soon. And
Definitely.
But all the best to you. Go check out Adam's YouTube channel. Go watch Hillbilly Elegy.
I've got YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. I got all that shit. Yeah.
I think everything's pretty much Adam Murray Live, isn't it? AdamMurrayLive.com, Instagram.
Yeah, everything's Adam Murray Live.
We'll talk to you soon, and again, good luck and all the best with everything, and we'll have a good holidays here.
Hell yeah, pleasure of mine. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, Adam.